Thank you for joining me. Today we'll be destroying a Bible to make a Christmas tree. Hello and welcome to Learning with Maya Savidra and Perry. Look at him, he's so cute. Going off of the podcast episode that I did with Spectrum, and then I learned something today through the internet scoping that I've done. I also am going to talk about this new stuff that I learned about RuPaul's Drag Race and trans inclusivity on that show. So buckle up. And the thing I'm going to be teaching you today is how to make a Christmas tree out of paper. This is an InStyle magazine because I don't want to use a book. You can use a book. Fun times. I'm going to... Okay, so today I'm actually gonna, I'm burping for realsies this time, how to do something, because I know last time when I did my makeup, I didn't really teach you all anything as much as I just kind of did it. So what you're gonna do first is look for a page with a lot of words on it, like this one here, because you want it to look not with pictures and stuff. Okay, I actually don't really remember how to do this because the last time I did it, I was a child in the 5th grade. But it's an experience for everyone, okay? How do you do this? You start like in the corner, like so, and you kind of fold it over like this kind of shape, so it's a triangular Christmas tree shape, like so. And then you just keep accordion folding it. So then you fold it the backwards way, like so. Okay, so here's what we're doing so far. So I was gonna talk about the difference between like gay movies and movies about gay people for straight people. Gay movies that are tragic. I think they're meant for straight people, to teach them to be like, hey, this is why you should care about this thing that's happening to the gay community. Like Moonlight, that was a pretty sad movie, but it shows you like the domino effect. It's like, yeah, first you're bullied in school, and then you go to jail because you don't have like a proper outlet and that kind of stuff. I also watched this movie on Amazon. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, Amazon makes me feel bad, because I know it's bad. Jeff Bezos is not a good guy, because he's a trillionaire, and that's disgusting. You shouldn't be doing that. You should give most of your wealth away if you're that rich. That's just my liberal agenda. Wow, I don't know how to do this. Cheese Ferroni with cheese. But anyway, so I watched this movie on Amazon called Uncle Frank. It was pretty cute, I'm not gonna lie. Well acted, well written too, I think. And I liked it, so you might also enjoy it. Now it had like a happier ending. It had sad elements, but it had a happier ending. But anyway, Moonlight are for straight people to learn about why it's important to care about gay people. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I just feel like movies help people learn about things. I think that's one of the main points of movies. I think that's a very important element of movies, to help people learn about things, because you need to like see things and be able to understand them, kind of. Like movies that are meant for gay people to celebrate themselves and to celebrate being gay and being happy, and like the Hallmark-esque movies we were talking about in the podcast episode. So that's just kind of where my thoughts were with that. So anyways, let me tell you what I learned about RuPaul's Drag Race. So if you all know me, some of you do, most of you do on this podcast channel thingy, I love RuPaul's Drag Race. I need another page, but this is what this one looks like. In years past, I know that there have been some contestants who've come out as trans. So the first one was Sonique, if you're a fan of the show. On the tell-all, she was like, hey, I'm trans. Monica Beverly Hills, she was the first person to come out on the show, like while she was still a contestant in the show. Oh, he's moving. Anyhow, well, she was still a contestant in the show. And then later, like, Carmen Carrera, she came out. And then currently on this season that I'm watching season 9, Peppermint, she's a contestant. She was like, yeah, I'm trans. Like, I'm in the process of transitioning on hold because I'm here, I'm competing. And then I was like, okay, so RuPaul's Drag Race is a place that is accepting, it seems like. But then I learned RuPaul was in an interview. He was asked about whether or not he would allow fully transitioned people, like fully transitioned women, to compete in Drag Race. And he was like, no. Something about, like, it defeats the, like, the fantasy. I guess it's because, like, the whole kind of origins of drag were like, I'm a man, but I'm dressed as a woman, like I'm a female impersonator. If we just look in, like, recent history, in, like, the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, there were, like, the club kid people. They were both trans women and gay men who were in drag, and just, like, fluid people and non-binary people. They're still, like drag queens and performers and stuff, but they did, like, more, like, edgy and underground, and they really just, like, they transformed fashion, because, like, the club kids, if you look at, like, the things they were wearing, like the costumes they were wearing, that really, like, heavily influenced, like, fashion in the 90s. I think this is kind of when, like, it began, like, people, like, began to look at gay people and be like, interesting, I'm gonna steal that. The 90s and 2000s, I feel like, were a kind of uncomfortable time where people were, like, fascinated about if you were gay or trans, and that was like, whoa, like a crazy, like, tabloid thing, because it came from a place of, like, less acceptance and stuff. Basically what I'm getting at is those trans people, they were still drag queens. So, like, if you think about Amanda Lepore, so if you think about people like her, they are still drag queens. I just feel like for somebody that iconic, for RuPaul to be like, well, I mean, it's not our tradition or whatever, that's not, it's, like, false, because, I mean, if you look back in the club scenes and the ballroom scenes, especially like with ballroom, that kind of stuff, which was, like, in the 80s. If you watch the show Pose, it features the ballroom scene. So if you look back at that, like, a lot of those women were trans. Like, that's just, like, that still happens today. A lot of performers are still trans. So I just feel like that's a weird argument for RuPaul to make. Peppermint, which is one of the contestants who made it to the top 3, if Peppermint was fully transitioned at the time she auditioned, would she still have made it in? And RuPaul was like, no. Contestants on Drag Race were kind of like, hey, what? That's still a valid form of drag, and it's still drag even if you're a woman. And RuPaul kind of backpedaled and was like, well, the only thing we screen for when we accept contestants is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. That's RuPaul's little thing, if you didn't know. Not gender, and it never will be, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, but why did you say that you wouldn't have let a woman in then? Like, historically, they are part of the community, and they fought for gay rights. And, like, when people say Black trans women, like, created everything and fought for your rights, they really are not lying, because they truly changed everything for you and me and everybody. Because RuPaul is, I believe, friends with trans people. Candace Kane is a choreographer who has been on the show a lot. Cher's son, Chaz Bono, he's been on the show as well. And RuPaul said something about, like, still, if you're trans, she was like, okay, if you're trans and if you're a performer, that's fine, but you can't compete at the biggest stage, which is RuPaul's Drag Race. For drag, that's pretty much, it really is just like the Olympics of drag, pretty much. And so RuPaul was like, you can't compete here because it's not the same. And I feel like maybe RuPaul might be pressured to actually accept trans women. Juno Birch is fully trans. She's been trans since she started doing drag. And I don't, maybe there's a difference between female impersonation and drag, because Juno Birch doesn't just, like, wear makeup to look pretty. Juno Birch wears makeup to look like an alien beauty creature from the 60s, and her look is really cool and unique and interesting. And, like, Sasha Velour doesn't wear makeup just to look pretty. She uses makeup to create, like, a look to create like an attitude and a different like feeling and appearance that's very like gender fluid. And I think that's what a lot of drag is like going into, and that's like the whole point, because she's not like she's not doing makeup to look very natural like myself. I've completely stopped doing this paper project. I need glue. Give me a moment. I got glue. We're gonna glue these two pieces of paper together. But still, like, trans people can be homophobic, and gay people can be transphobic, and gay and trans people can be, when it's glued together, then you gather the top like so, because now it's an accordion style, so it just, like a fan. Ooh la la. The main topic of what I'm talking about today is that your culture, Perry knows it, your culture comes from Black people, gay people, and specifically Black trans women people. Your vocabulary, your vocabulary, like what is slang now, and comes from gay Black people. So like spilling the tea, being busted, crusted, and rusted. Shade is another thing. Those all come from Black gay people. So like Jasmine Masters was the meme where she was like, and I oop. That's Jasmine Masters. She's from Drag Race as well. You want to be homophobic, transphobic, any kind of phobic, fine. Then, well, not fine. But if you want to be that way, then you don't get to have any of the cool things associated with that community of people. Quit being a jerk. Okay, so as you can see, I've glued the top, and it's looking like this. And so now we're gonna glue the back. Fashion trends and just like high fashion, like Versace and whatever. Also, Gianni Versace is gay, if you hadn't known. As I said, like it really originates to the club scene and to like the underground drag performers, who were really just like changing the games of fashion and art and blurring the lines between gender. But they were there for you, fighting for your rights the entire time. And still today, like as we see with the Black Lives Matter movement, I remember during July, kind of unanimously as a whole, the LGBTQ plus community was like, hey, this is our month, we get it, but also there's more important things to worry about right now. Back to the drag race thing. I feel like the whole point of drag was to be like, it's okay to be different in who you are and to express yourself the way you want. You can be who you want to be and express yourself how you want to, excluding you though. Not you. You're not allowed. Here's how the painting is going so far. As you can see, she's dilapidated. So here's the finished product. Christmas tree. Oh, Harry's little tail is in the way. Get out of here, scene stealer. So here's the finished product. When your tree is dry, you put some little decor on it. This is some pretty little fancy garland that I put on there. And here's my tree topper, which I cannot secure. But can you imagine how stunning it would be if I could secure it? Look at that, that's beautiful. That's stunning. Now, thank you for joining me for today's episode of Learning with Maya Savija. That's me. So if you have any comments or questions based on today's episode, RuPaul's Drag Race, or just gay representation in the media in general, or any other stuff, please let me know. If you make a Christmas tree based on my tutorial, please share it with me on Instagram, because I'll post it. I'm very flattered. Thank you very much. And if you have any other questions or topics you would like me to discuss and explore, please let me know. Listen to Underlying Frequencies, the podcast. Give this as a gift to your friends and your family and your loved ones, and your boyfriend and your girlfriend and your significant others and your best friend. Perfect for any occasion, no matter the religion.